Everything straight?
Yeah, can't complain.
Appreciate you having me.
Oh yeah, of course. I appreciate you agreeing for coming on here.
No problem, no problem.
Um, the first thing I noticed, when I was doing all my research and background, I really loved how you like put an emphasis on you currently being who you needed when you were younger. Why does that mean so much to you?
That's the motto. I mean, I've been working with, I guess you could say, the youth since I was about 17 years old, and it's always been a passion of mine. So I've always been passionate about basketball and really just helping the youth. So for me, that motto, be who you needed when you were younger, that's something that, I really try to live by. And, when I was coming up, I learned everything through mistakes. So, I didn't have anybody to tell me necessarily about AAU, about how to pick an agent. Like, I didn't have anybody. So for me, it's like, if I can help somebody learn from my past or just learn how to do things the right way, for me, it's all about just helping them, get to where I've been and better. So, for me, it's just like, just help whoever you can and really just be that person that you needed when you were younger.
Definitely, I love that. I used to be a teacher, and that was like one of the things that kept me going. Like,
Uh-huh.
you really have to be that person who you didn't have in your corner when you were there in that position.
Right, right. I mean, I feel like everybody can be a little bit more successful with the proper mentor, so that's kind of just what that, model stands for. What did you teach?
Fifth grade math and science.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, had the young one.
Right, right.
Um, so let's start off. So you're originally from New York.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between here in New York, Brooklyn, New York?
The real Brooklyn, because I know you got a Brooklyn over here somewhere in Baltimore, but the real Brooklyn. To be honest, it wasn't that much different for me.
Okay.
Growing up in the inner city, urban areas. The only thing I would say is different is that, in New York, everything's open all times of day here. So, in Baltimore, things might close at 1 or 2 o'clock. So, aside from that, and maybe the accent, I didn't really see many differences. I mean, even on the basketball side of it, the talent for me was kind of similar. So, aside from not being as busy and accessible for like traveling, like when I was a kid, I can just hop on a train or take a bus to my games and stuff like that. The
Got it.
public transportation out here isn't as frequent as New York, but I mean, other than that, I think it's pretty similar.
Okay. Okay. Did you put a ball in your hand when you were really young, or did it take you some time?
I started at 7.
Okay.
So a lot of my family are athletes. So, we
Okay.
always went to my grandmother's house and, eventually seeing them play in the backyards piqued the interest for me, and I kind of just took it from there.
Okay. And earlier you said like you didn't have anyone in your corner to point you in the direction of AAU or anything like that. So when did you start to get involved with organized teams and everything?
So in New York, it's all about playing in the summer tournaments and things of that nature. And I played with boys. I played with boys all the way up until ninth grade. So I was playing
Okay.
organized basketball, but it was just local tournaments trying to get trophies and the jerseys. And then after my ninth grade year, I became aware that there were other girls in the area that could play, and I started playing with girls more. But I stuck to street ball. I was playing, West Fourth, Rucker Park, and those type of things, not really knowing about AAU. So a couple teams approached me, but once they told me how much the fees were, I was like, I can play in a park for free, then pay
Yeah.
$500 just to go travel. So until maybe like the end of my junior year, when people start asking like, Tiny, what college you're going to and stuff like that, for me it was just like, I didn't really know. So the summer of my senior year, I kind of started to play AAU, and I got a couple looks, and I was fortunate to end up at Morgan.
Okay. Okay. Let's walk through high school.
Hmm.
Tell us about your experience playing high school basketball in New York.
So I actually got the name Tiny in high school. So basically,
Okay.
I was at tryouts, and at this point, I'm like 5'3", ninth grader, trying out for varsity, and they did the tryouts collectively. So if you didn't make it, they would just automatically put you on JV. And
Okay.
at the time, the coach was my chemistry teacher. So, we had no, kind of dialogue before that. But he actually sat me down the whole trial. Like, he just assumed like I'm gonna just throw her in JV. So probably towards the end of the tryout, I'm already like, I'm sitting on the side, I'm mad as hell, like, yo, like, I didn't get to do anything, I didn't get to show him nothing. And his assistant coach is like, you know, you never put her in. So he puts me in and I go crazy, like, because I'm mad at this point. So I'm bugging. I already seen like these girls aren't that good. Like, nah, there's no way. Like, you really just sat me down for an hour and a half. So I go crazy. He stops the tryout. And he's like, you know, if you were already on the team, go on the other, because we had two gyms and it was like connected with the divider.
Okay.
So he was like, you know, if you were already on the team, you go in that gym. Everybody else will be in touch. He's like, you go in there also. So I go in the other gym, and he's like, how did you do all that? He's like, you know, I don't get it. Like, you're so tiny, but you were able to do all of that craziness. He's like, I don't know about the rest of them, but you're on the team, and from now on, your name is Tiny. So that's kind of how my career started. And you know, he was kind of like, he was my guy. Like, I love him. His name Coach Duma. He's my chemistry teacher, and from that moment on, you know, things just kind of went, you know, crazy for me. You know, they retired my jersey at James Madison. We always were competitive, but you know, we never really had like the right pieces, but we always were competitive. We always made it to like the second or third round of playoffs. But I would say the summer circuit was a little bit more interesting for me because, like I said, I was playing in the West Forbes and the Rutgers. So, you know, at that point, I'm playing against Epiphany Friends, Tina Charles. I'm playing all of the top girls who went on to play, you know, UConn, Rutgers, Stanford. So for me, it's like, nah, like, you know, now that I see that there's other girls in New York that can play, I'm trying to hold my own. So, you know, those last 2 summers of you know, playing at the high school level, those were some big summers for me.
Okay. And when I was reading, they retired your jersey like right after your senior year, or did I read that wrong?
At Madison?
Yeah, Madison.
They did it my senior night at Madison.
That's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. So the same coach that gave me the nickname, he stopped coaching my junior year. And at that time, he made a promise. He like, if you keep doing what you're doing, I'm gonna retire your jersey, whether I'm the coach or not. Because I have broke like the assist record. I done broke so many records there. He's like, I'm gonna retire your jersey. Just keep doing what you're doing. So, you know, senior night, he kept his promise, and I was fortunate enough to have my jersey retired.
Oh, that's tough. Congratulations on that. That's a tough one. Have it retired while you're still there.
Appreciate it.
So what was your recruitment process? I know you said like summer ball is where it picked up. So like, what were some of the schools reaching out to you?
So locally, I had like LIU, I had Canisius, and then the summer before my senior year, I did one Adidas tournament. I think it was Mike White tournament, and you know, me and my team, we were all. It was basically 5 guards and then like a 5'9" girl, but. Like I said, we've been playing together for about 3-4 summers, so we really just was that scrappy team. Like, we didn't have no plays. We just played defense, scrappy, and played off each other. And after that tournament, I actually verbed with Syracuse. So, you know, right after that tournament, Coach Q called me. And at the time, he was the assistant coach. So he called me. He was like, you know, we like your style of play. You know, I'm really trying to bring in a lot of the New York City kids to kind of get this thing going, yada, yada. So all the way up until maybe the time to sign the letter of intent, I stopped hearing from him. So, you know, I hit him up like, you know, what's going on? And me not really knowing the process, I didn't also know how big of a deal it was to verbal to Syracuse. You know, a lot of people were excited for me, and for me, I just was like, okay, like, I'm cool, like, all right, like, you know, me and my mom, we just like, all right, it's a free scholarship, we good. But I had it, like, being outside so much, I didn't really watch college basketball and things of that nature, so I didn't know how big of a deal it was. But you know, that, I guess October, November, he's like, you know, unfortunately, the head coach got an opportunity to get an All-American, and being that we only saw you play once, I can't really, you know, continue to, you know, recruit you and give you the scholarship. So he was like, but like, you know, my man at Morgan, Coach Graham, you know, he was interested in you, but once he heard that you verbal to me, he felt bad. He was like, I already told him the situation, and if you want, you can go on an unofficial visit. So I'm like, all right, cool, like, you know, it's whatever. So my coach, my mom, and like a couple other my teammates, we drove down to Morgan and we played like an open gym. We went on like a school tour. I have family in Bowie, so I was just like, all right, like it's cool. I'm good with it. You know what I mean? Like I said, like when I
Yeah,
first got on campus, I'm like, oh, this is not too different from Brooklyn because at the time before that was before the campus got all these new buildings and things were kind of touched up. But I was like, it's free. I'm gonna play because I was killing them in the open gym. I'm like, I'm good with it. So me and my mom, we signed right there. So
got it.
it probably would have been a little different of a career to go to Syracuse, but I feel like everything happened for a reason. So, me going to Morgan, it really just worked out a
Yeah,
really good way.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely did. Stepping foot on Morgan, what was it like coming in as a freshman going into a college situation?
So for me, like I said, when I played with my people in New York, I was pass first. So I really just wanted to cross girls and then like get a dime or something like that. So coming in pass first, I had players that were from like Cali. I had players that were from locally from Baltimore. I had players from like Detroit, Virginia. So long story short, either they didn't catch the pass or they missed the layup or whatever. So my coach ultimately was like, yo, like you're the best scorer on the team. I need you to look to score as opposed to always looking to pass. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it took some fine tuning, but for me, once I really got comfortable and that confidence, like yo, like if he gonna give me the green light, then I'm gonna take it, So,
Yeah,
from the jump, things worked out.
that's amazing. So it's crazy, you being a pass first player, then you end up being an all time leading scorer, men's or women's. Like
Right, but
what?
I got the assist and the steals too. I got assists
Yeah,
and
I was
steals.
I was gonna get to that
I got
assist
all that
still.
too. Cause a lot of
You
people
got
try to make me sound like I don't pass, and I'm like, yo, like I got over 400 assists. Like I pass.
yeah.
I mean, but it was a tough transition though because it's just so hard. Like if I see somebody open, I know I can get it to them. But
Mm-hmm.
coaches in my ear like I'd rather you miss than they miss, or I'd rather know your personnel. She not gonna catch that, so it's gonna be a turnover. And then, after graduating from Morgan, then I had to kind of go right back to it as, kind of being a pass first, running the team at the pro level. So, I mean, I feel like, on the court and off the court, it's all about, making those adjustments, whether, you're a pass first, whether you're shoot first, whether something happens, like end of the day, like you got to be willing to adjust and really make those necessary changes to be successful. So,
Yeah. And it's crazy people try to just say you was a scorer. I mean, you won defensive player of the year.
right,
Like you
like
did
it's
it
crazy.
all. You did it all.
I did a little bit of damage, but I mean, it's just, I feel like playing basketball from 7 years old and just really loving it the way I did, I started to set my goals around my sophomore year, but honestly, I was just playing hard and, those stats and those accolades kind of, piled up. And then, like I said, after my sophomore year, it was like, all right, well, if I already put myself in this position, let me execute. So after sophomore year, I was literally calculating like, all right, this is what I need to average this. And then senior year I'm looking at the standings like, all right, well, as long as I stay in front of these certain girls, there's no way they don't give me player of the year. So I mean, eventually once you're in it, you start to try to get goal oriented and you set those goals for yourself, and then after that it's all about just knocking them down one by one.
Mm-hmm. Um, lost my train. Oh, what made you? Did you focus on having such a well-rounded game, or like you said, that just came from going out there and playing harder than everybody?
I think it developed from playing with the boys. So,
Okay.
playing with the guys, and not and necessarily being this height since, 15 years old is like you learn certain things playing with the guys. So you know that, you may have to double pump so they don't block you. You might have to work on a couple jump shots because if you playing with the guys, 9 times out of 10, you're not really trying to go in there and get beat up. So I think, from playing and really playing in New York and playing against different caliber, men and women and things of that nature, I was just able to develop, certain aspects to my game. And then as I got to college, then I start, fine tuning things. Like, my first 2 years, it was either a layup or a three. I didn't have any pull ups. I didn't have any step backs. I didn't necessarily have Euro steps and all of that. But it's like, all right, well, they waiting for me. They either taking charges or they double teaming. So it's like, all right, well, I need to, figure out a way around this because my team depends on me a lot. So now it's like, all right, I need to work on pull-ups before the double team come, or maybe I need to shoot a little bit further when they're not expecting it. So I think, as I got to like my sophomore and junior year, I had already had, some type of success in different parts of my game. So now I was just trying to like make the weaker ones a little bit better than the strong ones.
Got it.
And the men team I was on, they always stress, working on your left hand. So a lot of times, I actually write with my left, but I shoot with my right. But I was always
Okay.
working on both sides of the game. So it's like nobody's ever gonna be able to just force me one way or really try to dictate what I do. So
Right.
I think it just came with playing basketball all day long and really just developing that IQ and a knack for it. So it was cool. It worked out really well.
Okay. Okay. So senior year, like you said, you knocking down all these goals. Your name is rising. Were you hearing like that you had a chance to go play in the WNBA? Like, what was that like?
Messed that up big time. So once I graduated, I was projected to go last pick to Phoenix.
Okay.
And like I told you earlier, I learned everything through mistakes. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew a few girls that went overseas, but the ones that I were really close with, they didn't go, so they didn't know the process of picking an agent. So I ended up picking an agent that wasn't certified. Now, granted, she didn't have her FIBA license. She was great. Like, she kept me in the loop. She always was talking to the WNBA teams. And a week before the draft, we were in talks with like the Sparks. San Antonio said, they would probably, invite me to training camp. And then 4 days before the draft, they find out that she wasn't, certified, because at this point she's constantly contacting them and she's like in their ear, getting on their nerves. And they like, yo, who
Yeah.
is this lady? Let me find out who this lady is. And then they found out that, she wasn't certified. So, from then on, I feel like, right after they found out, like I didn't have no communication. Like they no longer responded to her. I tried to get the contact info from her. She couldn't give me that. And then, after that, it was just kind of a wrap for me. So from then on, my career started out rocky. I had to kind of act as my own agent. And, I went to Puerto Rico, and, like I said, I had to readjust my game because in Puerto Rico, they wanted me to run the team. So it's like, all right, Tiny, we want you to shoot last in this situation. So,
Got you.
at Morgan, sometimes we're not even running plays at Morgan. He's just letting me do what I do, and the team is playing off of me. But when you
Mm-hmm.
get overseas and you just get there, most of your teammates, they're not used to playing with you, and they're not gonna really know how to react. So a lot of times, that caused some issues. So I really had to like really lock in and learn, like, all right, we're running this play, this the first option, this the second option, and I'm the last option. So eventually I
Yeah.
figured it out, and he was like, once you figure out our systems, I'm sure you'll figure out how to, get your buckets as well. And once I got into it about, 6-7 weeks in, then it was like, okay, now I know what this pro life is about, because I didn't have to call plays or really even know what the plays were for or what we were looking for, So,
Mm-hmm.
I made that adjustment and it was cool. But, I played overseas for 7 seasons, and unfortunately, I never got another opportunity at the WNBA. But, what a lot of people don't know is those spots are limited. So, it's only
Yeah.
144 spots. When I was playing, it was only 10 spots per roster. And they weren't really looking to expand, so it was really tough to kind of break into that. You know what I mean? But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, now the game is growing and they're giving a lot of people the opportunities, and it's really something that girls can really try to get into now.
No, for sure. And I want to go back a little bit. What gave you the humility to always adjust your game? Like, there's a lot of players who struggle to change their game when asked to on a drop of a dime, but it seemed like you did it often and didn't have a problem.
Well, in college, at that point, I was just really, doing what I was told, but also realizing that we had something special. So, for me, before I came to Morgan, they were always at the bottom of the conference and they weren't really respected. Like everybody always wrote them off as an easy W. And then as we
Mm-hmm.
started to win games, everything was historical. It was like, oh, Morgan won the first game of the year since 2001. Oh, Morgan won 3 games in a row since 99. So everything became historical, and that became the motivation for me, because it's like, yo, like, not only am I doing something good, but my team is getting the recognition and the notoriety, and we making history. So end of the day,
Yeah.
you always want to be part of history. So that just kind of gave me the motivation and the drive to just kind of be like, oh, if this is it when I haven't even really put no work in, let me put some work in it and see how it goes. So that's what the motivation was at the collegiate level. At the pro level, you getting paid for this. So if you're not producing or doing what they're gonna say, you gotta go, and they're gonna bring somebody else in there. So for me, I've always been coachable, on and off the court. So for me, it's just really, figuring out what needs to be worked on and really executing it. I'm very goal oriented. So, end of the day, if somebody tells me what needs to be done and I really trust that it's something that can help me, then I'm going to do whatever I can to improve it and work on it.
Okay. And when you were overseas, was there problems adjusting going to all the different countries and everything?
After Puerto Rico, I kind of figured it out.
Okay.
And a lot of times, this is what I tell people all the time that want to go overseas. They're not looking for role players. So they're not just looking for a point guard to come in, average 2 points, 5 assists. They're looking for somebody to lead their team. So a lot of times they're looking for scoring point guards. So end of the day, after Puerto Rico, I figured out when to score, when to pass. I figured out, like, a lot of people don't know, you'll go overseas and you'll have anything from a 13-year-old teammate to a 40-year-old teammate. But as the import, they're bringing you in to win. So I tell people all the time, like, they're going to blame you for the losses and the wins.
Mm-hmm.
So end of the day, you're going over there to basically carry your team. So once I made it after Puerto Rico and I realized, what it took to really lead a team and what the systems were, because everywhere you go, there's going to be similar systems. There's going to be a horn set. There's pick and rolls and handoffs everywhere you go. And end of the day, it's going to be physical because either they're going to play a little dirty or the refs aren't going to give you anything until you earn their respect. So, I feel like for the most part, most of the leagues were similar, but end of the day, European basketball is European basketball. So, you got to be able to guard. You got to be able to, execute the pick and roll different ways. They may trap you. They may switch. You get the switch. It's money time once you get that big on you.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
always know you got shooters. You know what I mean? So, end of the day, once I figured it out, I just kind of built on that. And like I said, as they recruit you, they're going off of your last team. So, once I performed well in my first job in Portugal, now that's kind of like the standard. Like, oh yeah, she helped them win the championship. She got MVP. These were her numbers. Now they're looking for that across the board. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times, like I said, it's really hard to go and be a pro and not be able to adjust on the fly and be coachable.
Yeah,
Because
that definitely
even at
was.
the collegiate level,
Yeah,
you may have been the man in Baltimore, but now you're going to play somewhere where everybody has been the man or woman in their city.
exactly.
And now you got to compete, and you might have to do something you never done. So you might have been a shooter, but y'all got 4 shooters, and y'all all
Mm-hmm.
can't play at the same time. So now you might become the lockdown man, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
when you just steal, you can go pull up, you know what I mean? But end of the day, you got to be able to adjust to what your team is and what that personnel looks like. So for anybody, the collegiate level, the pro level, like, your longevity is based off of what you can do and how you produce. So you can't get, stuck in one thing, one dimension, like, oh, I'm a shooter, or, oh, I can pass. It's like, no, you got to be able to do a little bit of everything. So that's just kind of how you remain successful in this game at all levels.
right. I really admire that because, like, I feel like that's one of the main characteristics of being a professional, like you said. So once you finished playing overseas, did you hop right into coaching when you came home?
So that was my plan. But like I said, learning from mistakes. So, my last season overseas, well, I'll take it back. My last 3 seasons overseas, it just seemed like I always had to switch teams mid-season. There was going to be some type of issue, whether it was money, a coach change, or just the living situation. So I always switched teams like the last 3 years, which made me
Okay.
kind of, well-rounded because I was able to travel and just see a lot of different things. But basically, my last season in Greece, I went to Greece in January, but I started the season in Romania. And at that
Okay.
point in time, I'm like 30 and I'm just looking at it like, this might be it. Cause, my coach quit. So I was player coach at one time in Romania.
Mm.
Management, so the thing about management, Romania, they had the money, but they weren't doing what they had to do to get it. So they just basically on the clerical side, they messed up our money, and we were never able to get it, and it kind of like expired. So like sometimes in Europe and European countries, the money comes from the government. If you don't apply the correct way, you won't get it. If you don't get it, then nobody gets paid. So end of the day, we weren't getting paid. The coach ended up quitting because he wasn't getting paid either, but we were still in competition when all this madness was going on. And I love Romania. I love the people. I love my teammates. So I took on a role as player coach. And that's kind of when I started, really falling in love with that side of the game.
Yeah.
And I went to Greece, and Greece just showed me what it was to be on a real professional team. Like, we had the trainers, we had film, we had the pre-games. I played against different WNBA players and things of that nature, and we really were competing. And I actually ended up getting hurt. So I like landed on my foot kind of bad, and I got like something in my heel where I couldn't walk. So, once I did begin to, heal, and we were trying to get back in second place, I just stopped wanting to be in the gym. So it was just like, I'm not going to cheat it. Let me go out on a high note. So, we won bronze. Everything worked out. So now, I already knew that I was going to retire. So now I'm like, all right, I'm a coach. That's my plan. I'm a coach. And originally I wanted to coach women. I was like, I'm a coach. I'm going to give back. It's going to be fine. Like, it's going to be easy. Like, my resume is solid. My basketball resume is solid, I should say.
Yeah.
Like, boom, I'm going to do that. So I got back in, I guess, April-ish, and now I'm on the job hunt. I'm applying to everything. I'm talking to everybody I know, coaches I played against, coaches that coach me. And I'm realizing it's not as easy as you think, because I don't have a master's. A lot of times once the jobs are posted, they're already gone. That's just a human resource thing. You know what I mean? So I'm talking to coaches, and they're like, damn, Tiny, I filled that position 2 months ago. I wish I would have knew you was home, yada, yada. And then I actually interviewed for a junior college job in New York, and I was a finalist, but they weren't confident that I would be able to handle the administrative side of, being a head coach for an actual women's program, because, I never dealt with budgeting. I never dealt with all this other stuff. So now I'm looking at my basketball resume, and I'm looking at my other professional resume. Only thing on there is, running basketball camps, running basketball programs, but there's nothing solid that will make an athletic director hire me. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, all right, what I'm going to do? So I'm like, let me get my master's. So that's when I came back to Morgan, and I got my master's in a grad assistantship that allowed me to also work within the athletic department and see how things kind of worked. And when I got back to Maryland, I'm like, well, I know I want to coach, and Sam Brand, that's my guy. Like, he helped me and Reggie get Player of the Year. Like the summer before I senior year, I'm working with Sam nonstop, and I was never taught the fundamentals. Like, I just learned from playing. So he's breaking everything down inside foot. I'm learning the fundamentals from him. So when I got back, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna work with Sam. So I'm gonna learn just as much as I learned as a player, as a coach from him. And that's when it clicked. Like, I want to work with boys. Like, this is where I need to be, because I was, working with girls and working them out, but they didn't love it as much. They didn't want it as much. I had, my poly guys was like, Coach Tiny, can we work out 6 a.m? I'm like, yes, like, let's go. You know what I mean? Aside from, the girls, where it's like, yo, when y'all getting in the gym with me? Like, you know what I mean? So, working with Coach Sam and Polly, that summer of 2017, that's when it was like, this is the next step. This is what we want to do. This is where you want to be. There aren't many females coaching men at any level. Like, this is the one. For me, like I said, I'm goal oriented. So, I'm like, yeah, it might be easy to, maybe make that transition into the women's side, but nah, that's not me. That's not what I'm doing. Like, I gotta think big. So, now, I'm working at Morgan as, the video coordinator, and learning from that staff, and just, that first year, last year, was just amazing on so many levels. Like, being able to sit on the sideline, and, I've always built relationships with them because I've been back for the last 2-3 years. So I was already working them out. I was already telling them after games, like, yo, this is what you need to do. I was sending them clips. I was making that highlight tape. So it was already a smooth transition. So, you know, from then on, it was like, nah, this is really what I want. Like, you know, and this past year really proved that this was exactly, you know, what I wanted to be a part of. So, you know, like I said, you know, the summers before I was running camps, I was training players from high school to pro. So it was just something that was naturally going to keep me around the game. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, I also started officiating. So I started reffing out here as well. And that just, you know, showed me a different perspective of the game. So, you know, for me, it was just all about staying around the game and really giving back. Like I said, being who I needed when I was younger. Like I didn't have that person to really look to and that really experienced what I was going through. So I don't know if you're familiar with Tracy that played at Morgan, but she played at Morgan, and unfortunately she got killed a couple years ago. But as soon as she stepped foot on Morgan, I got so many calls like, "Yo, Tiny, it's a girl on campus. She getting 30 here, she getting 30 there. Like, she coming for your records or whatever." So for me, I'm like, I bet. So let me already give her the game. Like, you about to get double teamed, you about to get the box ones. Like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, she was small, also she was skinny, so it's like, yo, you gotta get in the weight room. Like, I know you don't like the weight room, I didn't like it either, but you know, if you're playing 30, 40 minutes and everybody's, you know, coming for you, like, you gotta have your body prepared for it. Like, gotta take the ice baths. I hated ice baths up until my senior year. I love Big Mac, so I'm like, yo, you gotta eat right because it's gonna do you dirty. And like, you know, you gotta drink water. So now it's like, you know, I started taking her and a lot of other people under the wing because, like I said, I didn't have nobody to really give me that. Like Sam, like I said, Sam helped me out the summer before from a lot of different aspects, but it's just like, you know, for me, you know, you may have a coach or somebody tell you, and me personally, all of my coaches at Morgan, except for one, were football players. So it was like, I'm listening, but it's like, I need to see you do what you telling me to do. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I know I have the respect from, you know, both men and women players. So it's like, yo, like, I'm going to definitely, you know, give them the blueprint. And, you know, that's kind of also what led to the book is like, you know, learn from my mistakes because I would rather you learn from what I did and not have to go through this heartbreak. I'd rather you know it ahead of time. And then now you can really just get to where I was and maybe even get further by bypassing mistakes and the setbacks and things like that. So,
No, that's respect. So what? And you mentioned this. You said that a lot of times the girls, like, you had to call them to get in the gym. What? And you seen the game as a player, as a coach, as a referee. Like, what do you think is missing from the game for the girls to get, for most of them to have the same mindset you had
So
and still have?
don't get me wrong. There are a lot of talented
Yeah,
girls out there.
yeah,
A lot.
yeah.
I actually went to triple threat training. He had an open run probably a month ago. I went to. He do it every
They
Monday.
get it in. They get it
Yeah,
in.
and it's 3-on-3 full court, so that's perfect for me because it's a small court. I ain't got to do much. But I was thoroughly impressed that, you know, most of them were high school girls. A few of them were on their way to college, and those were girls you can tell that they love the game. I think now, basically on the girl side, they don't play enough. Like, I was playing basketball all day, every day. If I leave my house at 12, I'm probably gonna come back at 8. But I've been playing since then. You know, even when I was playing in the tournaments, I was playing 4 or 5 games a day. You know, I was just really just locked into playing at all times because that's all I wanted to do. I didn't care. Well, we didn't have social media like that, but I didn't care about highlights and all that type of stuff. I just wanted to play. So I feel like they don't play enough, and that also contributes to the basketball IQ. Because, like I said, I played so much that I know what was going to happen. I know if I went up soft, it was going to get blocked. I know if I go by somebody, they're going to back tip me. You know, those are the things that have happened to you that, you know, you learn as you play more and more. So I think, I don't know what the scenario is in other cities, but like in New York, you know, we had open runs every night. Like, you know, for me, there was a place called St. John's Rec where every Tuesday night, you know, it was all pros in the gym, college girls, everything. Every Tuesday night is 40 girls in the gym playing each other. You know what I mean? So I feel like now, for one, they don't like to play outside. So they're a little bougie want to, you know, be in the gym.
Everybody kind of went back a little bit last 2 months, a little bit.
Yeah, because they didn't have a choice. And now they kind of, you know,
Yeah.
let's take it for granted. You know what I mean? So now it's like, it's not too many opportunities to play just to play. Like, you don't have open runs everywhere. Like I said, like what he did that them few months ago I went, he does it every week. But you know, if you look on the men's side, like whether it's organized, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in the park, the guys are playing whenever they can. They don't care if it's outside. They don't care if it's inside. So I feel like the girls need to be just more as hungry. And like I said, there are a lot of talented girls who are really playing day in and day out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
collectively it's not. So like I said, when I was helping out at Morgan, it might have been, I could get legit the same 4 or 5 girls consistently. When I started working with the guys, I had to actually split it up because all 12 wanted to work out. Like, you know what I mean? So I think the hunger and the passion isn't developed, and that can also come from the visibility of it. You know what I mean? So now with the WNBA, like they're bringing it around. You know, the NCAA are breaking records as far as, you know, the women's side. So I think the visibility is what kind of changed, because I watched the Liberty. I went to the Liberty games, and them same open runs I went to, the Liberty players were there. So I seen it. You know what I mean? So, you know,
Yeah.
going to the West Forks and the Rucker, I seen it with my own face. I'm seeing girls get crazy and do whatever it is. So I think also that exposure is what can necessarily help that passion develop. And in tune, like I said, the more you play, the better your IQ is going to get. So I just think, you know, for the women's side, I think there needs to be more exposure and more opportunities for them to just hoop, like just hoop.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
reps, no trainers, no whistles, just playing. We don't care about your name. We don't care about what school you go to. Like, we just here to play basketball. And that's how you fall in love with the game, because it's like, yo, like, you want to get better, you want to compete. Like, it's just, it just kind of makes you really fall in love with the game. So I think that's really the issue with the girls side of the game. But, you know, like I said, like, you know, I still, you know, as much as I work with the guys, I'm still mentoring and helping the females. You know, even at Morgan, you know, I had a few of the girls jump in and do our workouts when I'm working out the guys or whatever the case may be. So, you know, my passion and my dream is to, you know, be on the men's side, but, you know, I still do whatever I can to help females. You know, I've been working with my old agency to help girls get overseas. So, you know,
Okay.
I think, you know, like I said, just being on both sides, you know, for me, it's all about just giving back and helping these athletes get to the next level.
And I agree what you said about, you know, the exposure and visibility. That was one of the things I said, like, you know, when basketball starts again, I'm gonna go to just as many women's and girls games as boys and men's games, because like girls and women should be able to look on social media and see their clips and highlights everywhere. Like,
Right,
even though social
right.
media sometimes can sway somebody the other way, but like just seeing it, like, okay, I'm out here and I'm really doing something.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely making a big jump, and you know, everybody's making these campaigns, and even the support from, you know, the male counterparts is really helping out. So I think the WNBA has definitely gained momentum. I think
Hmm.
COVID affected everything, but you
Yeah.
know, I think their momentum has definitely, you know, took a rise, and hopefully there's more girls that's working hard to really, you know, achieve those goals and get there. And you know, like I said, like there's a lot of hidden gems. Like I said, when I walked in that gym, I was like, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back for this for sure. You know what I mean? But but yeah, I think that's it for the most part. You just really gotta expose them, and that's for anything. You know, as far as the youth goes, like you just really gotta expose them and show them what can be, and then from then on, is on them to really take the initiative to try to do what they need to do.
Hmm. And this is kind of, this goes back to like the training and everything. And I really want to talk about the most recent social media post. What gave you the entrepreneurial spirit?
So the first thing I did was write the book. So when I eventually got in a good position overseas, and you know, it was after being my own agent and really acting on my own behalf, like I said, I just kind of wanted to help people not make the same mistakes I did. So I done been scammed. I done went to the camps. You know, I done got contracts that were void. You know, I done had teams try to make me pay for my own visa and then never hear from them again. So for me, there was a period of time where I was always the one people came to get
Okay.
information. Like, all right, Tiny, what I need to do to get overseas. So I'm like, don't do this, don't do that, and definitely don't do this. First off,
Hmm.
make sure your agent is certified. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at that time, it was daily. And, you know, to this day, it's still the same thing. So it's like every time I would talk to these people, they'd be like, "Yo, Tanya, you need to write a book." And I'm like, I'm not writing a book. You know, at that time, reading wasn't as common as it is now. So I'm like, I'm not writing no book. Y'all bugging out. But then as I realized how much people I was helping, it was like, dang, maybe I do need to get this stuff out, just telling my story. So I started, I was in Bulgaria probably like 2013 or 14. And when you overseas, people assume that you're busy, but honestly, you're probably in the gym 4 hours out the day, and the other 20 hours you're either on Netflix or FaceTime or whatever the case may be. So I had a lot of time on my hand, and I started writing a book, and I sent it out to my mother and a couple friends. And my mother and my grandmother, they're like my toughest critics. They read all the time. They read 7 books a week. So I'm like, all right, if they say it's cool, I'm gonna keep going. So I wrote the book, finished it, and I'm like, well, another thing, like, all right, well, how many people wrote a book, Tiny? Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm always just dream big. So my plan to market the book was the logo I created. So I got like my friend helped me with the TA9 logo. So I'm like, all right, I went to custom ink, put it on the shirt. I bought 3 shirts and a hoodie. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna shoot like a short documentary and we're gonna promote the book. So I came back to Morgan. I went to Madison. I interviewed some of my coaches, my family. But every time I would post like one of the, little snippets, everybody like, yo, I want a shirt. Or, yo, can I get a hoodie? And I'm like, this is it. I bought it for myself. I don't want you to want to buy the shirt. I want you to want to buy the book. The book is coming out, not the shirt. So weeks, days, same thing. Everybody like, yo, I want the shirt. I want the shirt. So at the time, I knew a guy that did shirts for the local tournaments in New York. He was like, I'll do it for you. So he did. The first order was like 50. And then those 50 posted their pictures in the shirt. And then that led to the next order of like 150. And then me, I'm a do-it-yourself person. So like I learned how to do my own highlights. I learned how to do a lot of stuff on my own, simply because for one, I'm not patient. And then 2 is like, I know exactly how I want it. And I would hate to keep going back and forth with somebody and actually pay somebody, because I'm cheap too. So it's like, if I can do this on my own, I'm gonna do it. So he couldn't fill the second order of like 150 because he was busy. So he kept like pushing me off. So I'm like, all right, bro, just teach me how to do it. So he taught me how to do it. I filled that second order. And now that led to an even bigger. So I'm like, all right, if I don't sell books, I can sell shirts. And at that time, this was like 2014. Everybody was coming out with a clothing line. It wasn't something I wanted to do. But I'm like, you know what? The way people are supporting, I need to really make this legit. So I made, the LLC. And then now, it was crazy. The couple years before, I was looking for endorsements or just free gear to wear. And I'm like, yo, I'm putting my logo on everything. So I was putting on phone cases, socks, water bottles. And then that's just kind of how the brand expanded. And then, for me, people have always supported me. So it just kind of took off. And then I began getting a lot more exposure. So I started sponsoring tournaments and leagues in different countries and players. And then it just started leading to so much more. And that's what kind of sparked the entrepreneurship in me, because it's like I wrote the book, I started the gear, I had success, I learned a lot from my mistakes, and now I know exactly what it takes to, own a business and really, keep it going. And for me, I think that also contributed to like my leadership roles and everything like that, because it's like when you own and you just starting out, you're doing everything. So I'm printing the shirts, I'm selling them, I'm filling the orders. So for me, it just really just, clicked in my mind. And then from then I just started a couple more businesses. I got a nonprofit in New York. I'm about to start one here in Maryland. I'm looking to open a center really, really soon. So, just those experiences and that success, that's kind of what sparked the entrepreneurship in me.
Got it. And I really, again, like that last post, like I really love that idea about the whole center, and then actually being, you are, like you said, you'll do it yourself. So you had in there, I saw where you had the sewing machines, the print machines, just a one-stop shop for everything.
Right, everything. And so originally, probably like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I was torn between which one I wanted to do first. So it was going to be separate, a print shop and a gym. But what really sparked it was that, we got the squeegee boys out here. I'm in the gas station, there's kids that stand there just to kind of pump your gas for a couple dollars. So I'm like, yo, if I open a facility and I start a program where I can hire these kids every 6 weeks and also give them somewhere to be, you know, maybe they don't want to have a brand. I'm gonna definitely have the print shop, and I'm gonna teach them the entrepreneurship through the print shop, but they might not want to have a brand. They may want to rap. They may want to do photography. They may want to do videography. They want to hoop, whatever. So I'm like, in addition to this print shop and this basketball gym, I want them to have access to everything they need. Because like I told you, the rec, that's where I was at. So, you know, ladies' night playing against the older girls and all that stuff, like the rec, that's where I was most of the time if I wasn't playing in the tournament. So it's like, you know, with everything that's going on between, you know, racism and poverty and just not having opportunities, because when I left that gas station, I'm like, yo, like, I struck up a conversation with this kid and I'm like, I wish I could hire him, but I'm not in that position. But if I get the center, not only can I hire him, but he got an opportunity to really, you know, work on whatever he want to work on. He might want to hoop. You know, we got the turf field. He might want to do yoga. Like, I don't care what you want to do, but whatever it is you want to do, you're going to be able to do it here. You're going to be out the street. And, you know, that's just kind of, you know, where my mindset took it. So, you know, like I said, like, if there's anything I could do for the youth, that's really what I'm going to do. So, you know, I had a one of the students at Morgan who I knew, who great with graphic design. He's also an engineer, and for him, I've always been trying to like support him in ways where, you know, he can show his talent. So even throughout the season, I got him an opportunity to really produce some of the, you know, flyers and things at the games. And he produced like a building for Morgan. So I'm like, yo, I need you to help me bring my vision to life. Because now that I can see it, it's like, oh, let's get it. Like, now it's time to really put things in motion. So, you know, I'm looking to have that within the six to 8 months, and really just make that somewhere that no matter what it is you want to do, if you're part of Baltimore City Youth, you can come here, be safe, and work on whatever you want to work on. And also, it's going to be accessible to adults where they can rent the space out. So whether you want to have a conference, or, you know, you want to coach volleyball, train players, or you want to do a Zumba class, or you want to do a paint and sip, like, it's just going to be a non-traditional rec center where, you know, it's primarily for the youth, but everybody's going to have access to it. And, you know, it's just going to be somewhere in the community where people can go and really be safe and just do whatever it is they need to do.
Yeah, give everyone an opportunity. And it's, you mentioned like you wanted to give that kid a job, and it really just come full circle. Your motto, be who you needed when you were younger. It's crazy how life comes full circle.
He was 14 years old, about to go to high school, and he had no way to make money. So he stand at the gas station all day, offer to pump somebody's gas. And he was so respectable, well-mannered. And I'm just like, yo, like, if I can hire you for whatever reason, I would, because you can tell that, you know, he had the potential, but it's just no opportunities. Like, it's not even opportunities for adults to work, especially during a virus. So for me, it was just like, all right, if I create this program every 6 weeks, I can keep hiring different kids, and they're always welcome back, but they get a couple dollars, they learn some things to do. And now we're pouring into the youth who we need to lead us eventually. So, you know, that's something that I'm going to definitely continue to work on and really try to make happen as soon as possible. But I think it will also spark other people to want to do the same thing. And, you know, I can collaborate with different mentor programs, nonprofits, different companies to create some internships. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, you know, like I said, end of the day is just trying to help the youth, you know, however I can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you get it going, I'll help out any way with videography, anything like that.
Sure, definitely gonna need that on the marketing aspect. But I mean, even that, like, how did you get into videography?
So I went to school for mass communication, and a part of that was, you know, you had to take a few video classes, and at the time, hated it. Hated it. And I'll just be honest with you. The first time I took it, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I failed it. Like, I hated holding that camera. I'm like, I don't want to hold this camera. But, you know, a few years later after school, I'm like, I'm going to all these games. I'm going to games for no reason because I'm a fan. I might as well do something with it. So it kicked back like, hey, you might have hated that class, but you took it again and you got an A. You learned something in it.
Right.
So that's basically how it happened.
See, and now look now, like it's taking you to new heights. But like I said, that exposure to it. So
Right.
you had
Right.
the class, and you were able to make it make sense for you. Like, all right, well, I took this class, and now, like you said, I'm in love with the basketball game. Let me be a videographer. Let me get these clips and this behind the scenes and make these edits and really, get these kids some exposures. I mean,
Right.
as you get those likes and it's passing around the explore page and everybody's seeing it, it's like not only are you getting yourself some, exposure, but Baltimore City kids and all of the games you go to, now these kids are really getting the highlights or even just feeling good about themselves. Like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of all right. Like, with these clips, I look like I'm somebody. You know what I mean? So I think, end of the day, like I said, if we just able to expose the youth to different opportunities and different, career paths and just really give them something that they don't even know is out there,
Right.
there's no limit to what they can do. But it got to
Yeah.
be people that want to take the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the hardest part. Like, especially for like right now, like everybody needs that side hustle to make it to get through. But it's like you got to take some time out and really reach back. You have to because they need it. They really need it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
the last thing I wanted to talk about, you said your ultimate goal is be the first woman to lead a men's basketball team to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
I love that goal. When I read that, I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's nonstop. You just want to keep
Right.
leveling up, keep
So,
leveling up.
like I said, like I want to do stuff nobody did before. So,
Yeah,
the thing with goal setting is you got to be specific too. So, I there's probably going to be a head female coach before me, but I want to be the one that make it to the Final Four. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's cool, and I'm a definitely show her love, and I hope I know her, and we're gonna celebrate her, but. I want to be a female coach of significance aside from doing the unthought of or the unthinkable. Like, nah, like I ain't just get the job and go 5-25. Like, nah, I got
hmm
to the Final Four. You feel me? So that's something that it's gonna take a little time. I feel like COVID messed me up bad because going to the Final Four last year, that's how I met Coach Brodus, and it was easy transition when he got the job at Morgan to kind of just sort of get where I am now. But this Final Four, I done made a lot of connections, and I just know that it would have been really good for my career. But end of the day, like the other thing that the COVID did on the positive side was a lot of webinars, a lot of coaches just having time to answer emails and really answer questions and take time to help us coming up. I made a lot
right,
of connections. A lot of people know my name, so it's something that's definitely I feel like it's going to happen. And like I said, this past year at Morgan, it really showed me like this is exactly what I want to do. Aside from the gym and teaching and everything I do, working with the guys, it really just showed me like, nah, this is it. Like, just communicating with the guys and having them come to me, for personal reasons and just even, athletic reasons and really, really seeing them grow is
hmm
definitely proven that, this is exactly what I want to do. And, I can't wait to keep tapping into my guys and helping them become better. And also the ladies, like I said, I still mentor the females also.
yeah, yeah.
But, end of the day, I want to say, I say maybe like 4 or 5 years. I think I can make it a reality. Um,
No,
you
you
know,
definitely can.
yeah, especially with how well I feel like, if we do have a season, like Morgan is really going to be really good. And, the fact that we're going to win and we're going to do some things that's going to also connect me to, other winners. And then I'm going to keep networking. And then, it's going to keep, helping me get to the places I need to be. So, 4 or 5 years, I think I could probably really, really start scratching the surface and making that happen.
No, you definitely are. There's nothing but respect from me, Tiny. I definitely appreciate you hopping on and
Nah, I
sharing your
appreciate
experience
you. I
and journey
appreciate
with
you
us.
for sure. I've been averaging like a couple of these every couple of weeks, but I haven't done one in a
I
minute.
saw,
So,
I,
so I
I saw. I was like,
definitely.
man, I was like, I hope I ain't get on here and bore you with the same question enough. But I
Nah.
definitely see
I'm
you had
saying
a
you had a
few
little
of them.
different spice to it. So I definitely enjoyed the interview. Definitely looking forward to seeing you around.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep creating that content. This was definitely dope. I think we got a dope thing going, and hopefully see you soon out here. Hopefully basketball returns and you can get to use that camera again. But definitely gonna hold you to it. We're gonna have a one-on-one videography class, and you're gonna definitely run that for the youngins, and definitely gonna be something that we get going in the center. So,
Oh
thank
yeah,
you.
I'm gonna bring some of these other people out here too, for sure.
Yeah,
Make
we
them
need
come too.
everybody. We need everybody.
All right, I appreciate you.
All right. I don't know about these comments. I didn't get to see these comments.
Nah, they just saying salute to the GOAT. A lot of them just saying salute to the GOAT.
Ain't nobody. Ain't nobody. Shout out to my cousin tuned in. Mario tuned in.
Yeah,
That's
shout out
so
to
Mario.
everybody tuned
Mario
in.
was one of the guys I was playing with when I was young. That was
Okay,
beating up on
okay.
me and hacking. Who we got? We got my homegirl Yaya. Social media. Yup. Social media play a part. Okay. Cam ish. All right. They showing a little bit of love.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Appreciate that. All right. So, like I said, thank you. Hopefully we can
Of course.
revisit this in a couple years or maybe next year on the opening of the center,
Facts.
and definitely, anything you need on my part, let me know. Whatever you need, I could definitely do whatever I can to try to help you. And just stay in touch.
All right, I definitely will. I appreciate that.
No problem. No problem.
All right, you have a good evening.
You too.